Welcome to the Connection Show. I just wanted to jump on really quick to introduce this amazing lady, Kim Jacobs, who's on our show today. You don't want to miss this woman. She's amazing and will inspire you. Right before we have her jump on though, I'd love to let you know about this upcoming Aruba getaway, February 5th through the 11th, to connect and get away with other men and women on this beautiful beach. So I want to just introduce you to that right before Kim jumps on. So here is the information. Join us for the Hope, Health, and Healing Aruba Connections Getaway for men and women, February 5th through the 11th, 2023. Are you overworked? Stressed out? Feeling exhausted? Is it time to spoil yourself? Breathe in life and relax at private villas in Aruba for 6 nights and 7 days. Renew your mind and body. Discover greater self-awareness. Join in connection, wellness, stillness, movement, enhance inner peace. Experience amazing beaches. Enjoy snorkeling, area attractions, shopping till you drop. Dine at fabulous beachfront restaurants. Imagine releasing anxiety, reconnect with yourself, restore your soul, bring your friends, enjoy fresh and savory cooked meals, lasting memories. Join us now. Register today. Book your flight and getaway to Aruba, February 5th through the 11th, 2023. Register by going to braveheartworkshops.com. Pack now and see you on the island of Aruba. Well, by the time February gets around, I know all of us will want to be on the beaches in Aruba. It will be amazing to go to those beautiful villas. But for now, I'd love for you to connect with our amazing guest, Kim Jacobs. So stay tuned and listen in to Kim. Thanks for joining us.
The Connection Show. Inspiring hope, health, healing. Connecting the dots of your story and transforming your life. Sponsored by Braveheart Workshops. Live with Jill Reynolds.
The Connection Show, inspiring hope, health, and healing. Sponsored by Braveheart Workshops, live with Jill Reynolds. And joining me today, which I'm going to say, is my sister from another mother, Kim Jacobs, because my maiden name, Kim, is Jill Jacobs. So, welcome to the show, Kim.
Thank you so much, Jill, my sister from another mother.
I love that you're a Jacobs. Anyway, well, Kim, I am so honored. I know you have a busy, busy life yourself, and I've been wanting you on my show for months. I just find you fascinating. And so, would you be willing to tell the audience about who you are and what life was like for you growing up and how that's led you to the amazing woman you are today?
Wow, absolutely, Jill. Growing up for me was, I would say, pretty interesting, even though at the time I didn't realize I was really not financially well off. I was poor. I didn't have a lot of money at all, but my mom didn't make me feel that way. So I never really thought about it from that perspective. So growing up, I actually grew up in a housing project the locals called it the Bottom. And our local grocery stores were called Below. So I lived at the bottom and I shopped at Below. So, that could technically, lend to some mental conditioning, of course. But I grew up in the Newport News, Virginia area, and a lot of people know that area code of 757. So we always say 757. Anyway, it's something we do as a local community. And so I grew up in that area, and growing up, I would consider a very normal childhood. My mom was well, for me, it was normal, but my mom was a single parent. And she poured so much love and so much affection. She was such a hard worker. She worked the same job for 40 years and was very devoted and faithful. And not just faithful to her job, but faithful to when she would come home from work, Jill. She would officially still pull out the board games and still cook dinner and still make sure she helped with homework and doing things that just a mom that would do. And she didn't make any excuses or say, oh, I'm a single mom, and complained about it or anything. She just did whatever it took to be a wonderful mom. So growing up, I had the best mommy a person could ever dream of. And my life was, I believe, kind of shielded as a result of that.
And so where was Daddy?
My dad and my mom got divorced when I was really young, and he was actually in the community at that time, but I would see him periodically, but I just really didn't get a chance. We didn't get a chance to interact that much, which kind of bothered me when you're talking about the good, the bad, and the ugly. Let's be very, very clear, Jill, because I'm not going to paint a picture that's not true of how I actually felt as a child. As a child, I was feeling like, well, what in the world? Why in the world won't this man come and be an active part of my life? And I'm his daughter, and I'm a product of him, and I'm doing well in school. I'm not a problem child or anything. So I really would go to extremes to try to say, hey, Daddy, I'm over here. But for whatever reason, things that was going on in his life at that time, he wasn't as active in my life. But his mom, my grandma, Mother Thomasina Clark is what we called her, was very involved in my life. And my two aunts, my Aunt Sadie and my Aunt Irma, his sisters, they came to everything, Jill, that I ever had happen in my life. Every pageant, every speech, every award ceremony, they were there. They were there always. So I never really felt like I was disconnected from that side of the family because they were so actively involved in my life. And if I'm able to fast forward, okay.
Now, did you have any siblings? Was there brothers or sisters?
Yes, I have two brothers, and my brothers were also raised in our family household, and my mom and dad had me and one of my younger brothers, and so we share the same father. And then my youngest brother, his dad is a different father than ours that kind of served as a father figure in our lives. Mm-hmm. But we all grew up together in the same household, and I love my brothers dearly, love them. And let me go back to my dad piece, because I do want to say that when I became a teenager, I would see my dad. He would be at like a local bar down the street, and I would see him when I would get off the bus. Instead of going home, I would go over to the bar and I would sit there on the stoop and on the little bench, and I would talk to my dad. And so I was like, hey, Dad, how you doing? I just want you to know I believe in you and I love you. And I would just talk to him. And I didn't even know I was going to get emotional, Jill, but I would just talk to him and try to encourage him and let him know that I love you and I know that you're going to be fantastic, and life just may have taken a difficult turn for you, or whatever happened, But needless to say, my dad, since we're talking about just my dad piece for a moment, well, I'll tell you that part later. Maybe we'll get to that in my adult years.
Well, and you know what I hear in you, Kim, is I see the love of Jesus in you, and it seems to me like you were Jesus showing up at that bar with your dad. And it sounds like Dad might have had a little alcoholism in his life, and that kept him separated. And the disease of alcoholism, even when you want to love others, it's just hard to, because you're so consumed in the alcohol. And yet you were his light. You were the light that came to him.
Yeah, it's going to be revealed, hopefully, throughout this conversation, how much of a light it really was. Because we're talking just about my childhood right now. But going on with my childhood, Jill, I actually when I was younger, I wanted to I wanted to be a television talk show person or a television reporter or something in TV. So I used to mute read the closed captioning when Oprah and Phil Donahue at the time, that's who I would read it to, would come on. I would actually mute the television and read the closed captioning. And I would say, hey, everybody, welcome to the stage. And guess what? My girlfriend Gail is here. And I would just emulate the different things that they would do. And only just playing around and practicing at the time, but not really knowing that what the future would really hold for me.
Mm-hmm. And so let's go on then from childhood. So let's go maybe to your junior high and then high school years.
Yeah, in junior high and high school years, I already knew at an early age that I was a leader. I already knew that because a lot of the adults in my life would come to me and they would ask me for advice. I was like, I'm the child. I don't know. I'm just a child. But I would still give them the best advice that I had to give. I had a cousin, her name was Trina, and she had passed away. She was actually murdered. But we would just walk and talk, and she would ask me my opinion and my thoughts on things. And so I realized at an early age that people were looking to me for advice and counsel, and I was like, okay, this is a heavy load to bear, but I just answered it at the time. So in school, I really wanted to serve as a leader. So I went on to be like the president of my class every single year, either vice president or president every single year, junior high, and then in high school as well. I was the senior class president at my high school. And that came with its own load of responsibilities, Jill. So people would expect, hey, what are we doing as a group? What are we doing as a class? What's our theme? And I would say, hey, if you want action, vote for Kim Jackson, because back then I was Jackson. I'm married into the Jacobs. I was married into the Jacobs name. So I enjoyed growing and being a leader. I was also a part of pageants. And that same mom that I talked to you about would go out and help me raise funds and get people to donate so that I could go into the pageants looking just like everyone else and being able to represent myself to the best of possible light. So I always made it to the finals of the pageants. So I was in Miss National Teenager pageant, the Miss Black Newport News, and I represented that in the Miss Black Virginia pageant. And at one point I was like, Mom, I do not belong here with all of these big Dolly Parton hairstyles, and my hair was like really short and like Anita Baker short type. My mom said, Kim, you belong here just as much as every other young lady that's here. So you go in and you answer the questions and you represent yourself to the best of your ability. You have just as much right to be here as everyone else. And that made me feel like I could do anything, Jill. My mom made me believe that I was capable of accomplishing anything I could put my mind to. That's the kind of mom I have.
And so when you did the pageants, what I've seen with pageantry stuff is you have to answer questions, and unfortunately sometimes it's appearance too. What was your talent that you would use? What was your talent?
That's an interesting question, because literally I'm not a singer, right? So the Lord says make a joyful noise, not just any So I did not do singing and dancing. I can dance. I was a cheerleader in school and I got most spirited and all of that, but I didn't do that. I ended up doing Maya Angelou, and I had a Nefertiti, like a crown, and a really beautiful dress that was really sleek and like a queen. And I was like, I am a phenomenal woman. That's me. And I would just go on and on and on and on. So yeah, wow. That was my thing.
So you were like the actress monologue.
Yes.
Give me a monologue, and you're so good at that as a talk show person. You can just do your monologue. So that really won you. You won on monologue. That's great.
On a monologue, running my mouth, talking. I didn't know. I didn't even put the two together until you just said that.
I was going to ask if you did baton twirling, like the baton throwing. Catching.
I was a cheerleader, and I was very spirited. So I would be doing all kind of the snakes and all of that. My mom would be like, "Calm down out there."
Oh gosh, that's amazing. So you did the pageantry. And Mom just was your cheerleader and your encourager. If you're willing, if you want, because that we brushed over it, and she seemed like an important part of your life is Trina. What happened with Trina?
She was raped and murdered. My cousin, at a young age in her 20s, she was brutally raped and brutally murdered and left behind a trash can dumpster. And I wouldn't wish that on anybody, because I feel like a life is so valuable and everyone's lives are valuable. So to have your life taken from you, it's like there's no regard for a person's life. And it shouldn't be just because, and I don't know what the circumstances were as far as when she was walking, or but to me, it doesn't matter if you're walking at 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning or 4 o'clock in the morning, or whatever the case may be. You should be able to walk freely in the community and live your life and not be worrying that somebody's going to take it away from you. And so that's what happened.
And so how did that affect you and your family when that all occurred? Was that like a real huge life changer in your family?
It was because none of us expected that, and none of us even could foresee it happening or coming in down the pipe of our lives. And then her mom ultimately passed away too, not too much longer than that. So it was earth shattering kind of experience in our family. But what it also did was it let us become even closer as a family unit, and we would check on each other. We would make sure, hey, kind of like how people say this whole, I think, Me Too movement thing that's happening, where people say, text when you get home, or I may be mixing, don't please pay me no mind. I don't know the initiatives, all of them in detail, but I do know that there are some initiatives where people say, when you go out, share your location. Yeah. When you go out, text and let me know who you're with, and send a ping and things of that nature. And I think the Me Too is when some people have been physically violated. We know clearly, yeah. And so that's different, two different things. But what we've started sharing aggressively and assertively where we are, who we're with, what time are we expected to be back. I had a curfew anyway as a child, so as a teenager, even in my high school senior years, I still had to walk around with the quarter that you could put in the phone booth, and I had a cutoff time. I really never missed my time. So if I wasn't home, my mom knew something was going on, and she would immediately aggressively start trying to figure out what was going on, because I never missed my curfew on purpose.
Yeah. So thank you for sharing that. So let's go to high school years now. In high school, and you said some stuff happened then with Dad. And
so in high school, that's when I was spending the time seeing, because I was determined. I was like, I gotta get this man to realize that you have a great daughter. I think I'm great. And I think that I'm great because of you, because you're my dad. I have your blood inside of me. And the same with my mom. My mom is great. And so she's pouring her kindness, her compassion, her sacrifice and dedication to me. So some kind of way, the two of you have created me. And so I just wanted him to know that I love him, and I support him even in the midst of whatever he's going through. But ultimately, my dad was like beaten and left for dead. And my grandmother, who lived in Florida at the time, they had him life flighted to Florida. And so when they life flighted him, she kind of took him in and nurtured him. My grandmother's a very spiritual woman. And so she nurtured him. She kept him at home and grew him up again. And basically, my dad ultimately became a bishop.
Wow.
So, and he was not just a bishop, he was a bishop that they call in Palatka, Florida, the people's bishop. So you're talking about a major transformation in life. This man went from being left for dead, me going to the bar and doing motivational speeches with him, to being transformed and becoming the people's bishop, where he would have his church services and he would put his speakers to go out to the public. So the speakers were sitting there to go out so that people in the street, because that's where he came from, could be ministered to. And you would go outside of his building and people would be lined up on their porches for miles hearing the bishop, my dad, Bishop Elijah T. Jackson, preach.
Oh,
and
wow.
Guess what he said, Jill? Guess what he said in one of his messages? That his motivation and inspiration came from his daughter whenever I would come and talk to him at the bar.
Is he still with us, your dad?
My dad just recently had an incident where he had pancreatic cancer, and we were communicating, and all of a sudden everything stopped. So his sisters, who were very close to him, and myself and my daughter, we drove there because we couldn't figure out why we weren't talking to him for like a week. When we got there, the doctors told us that he had about a week to live. And do you know, and I believe it's God's blessing to me, as a gift to me, that he allowed me to be in the room with him when he took his last breath.
And what date was that, Kim?
That was in April. He passed away. April this 1 year.
And
Yeah.
and he's dancing now in heaven, and yeah, it's just, that's such a beautiful story.
Yeah, it was on April 30th was when we were there with him on the day that he took his last breath. And when he passed away, he didn't pass right away. And so the bizarre thing is, Jill, when he was there on his last few words, first of all, I couldn't believe this would be happening while I'm physically here. Out of all the people in the world, we are reconnecting as adults a lot, in our journey. So for me to be able to be in the room and this happened was like, God, what is this? This is a gift, I guess, for me to spend these last few moments with my dad. And he said to me, he was like, Kim, come here. He would say silly stuff. I'm not even going to repeat some of the stuff he said. It was some funny moments too. But one of the things that he said was, you'll always be my daughter. And that was so profound to me because he had remarried. They raised daughters and even granddaughters and different things. And their lives were their lives, And I wasn't as involved in that process and that piece of their lives. And so for him to have those last moments with me and say, you'll always be my daughter, just really was, it was like therapeutic and healing for me to hear my dad say those things to me. And I'm really glad that we had the time that we had together. And his wife, even beyond his passing, still does things to try to just show his love to us, me and my sibling.
Wow, that's a beautiful story. Well, I know this is a harder show than some people ever expect. But
yeah, this is not the kind of, good thing I don't have them eyelashes and stuff. I'd be wipe them all everywhere. So I just got my regular eyelashes.
Well, I know that, we only have so much time to share. So what I'd like to do before we close, because we're coming to a hard end, is I want to show your bio to the audience. So Kim Jacobs, this is her bio and how you can reach out to her. But before we end, I want her to end with one final story about Gabe.
Oh, so your whole episode is about emotional roller coaster here. Listen, people, I'm a talk show.
It's how God's transformed your life. And so, so God's taken you on a whole new journey with your children and with Gabe. So share with us a little bit in closing about the journey with having children and then Gabe, and then how this foundation is started.
Absolutely. I am a mother of 5 children, and my children range from ages 14 to 25 years old. And they're all different places. One's at UNC Chapel Hill, another one's at UNC Charlotte. I have one that's homeschooled and he's a lifeguard, and one that's at a charter school and she works at Chick-fil-A and does all kinds of gardening and animation. So I have a very talented group of children. 3 of those children live with cystic fibrosis, and they are fighting that disease, but they're warriors. Just so you know, my children are warriors. And so one of my children, the 5, I only mentioned 4, and I'm still the mother of this particular one. His name is Gabriel Michael Jacobs. When he was born, we named him after 2 angels, Gabriel, Michael. And we had no idea that he would walk this earth, literally like in an angelic form. He was a giant at 12 years old, and he was considered guardian Gabe at his school, and he would mediate, Jill. He would mediate between those that were bullying and those that were being bullied, and he would help merge relationships. everybody loved Gabe, and Gabe loved everybody. He wanted everyone to feel like they were somebody special. And
He
on
he he, he had your heart because you're exactly like Gabe. You're so
oh, thanks, Jill. You know how to make somebody feel real special.
you are just like Gabe. But go ahead. I'm sorry. I had to say that.
So Gabe, we had no idea. First of all, we will never know if he has cystic fibrosis, but we had no idea that Gabriel actually had a heart defect, and that the defect was something that could be surgically corrected, but we just didn't even know it existed. And so the first sign was on the day that he was playing a game of basketball with my husband at the time and our four sons. They were playing a game of basketball. And during the game of basketball, Jill, he actually collapsed. And that was the first sign that he had a heart defect. But the only part is that we didn't get to get it surgically corrected because he transitioned from this earth that day and transitioned to heaven. And so, oh boy, I can just tell you that my heart goes out to any moms, dads, and parents that have had their children transition from this earth, because we were not expecting it under any circumstance, and we were not prepared for it. And I tried to give my heart. If you talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly, Jill, I try my best to tell the doctors that I would like to donate my heart, because I felt like I had already lived a great life, and it's time for my child, who's only 12 years old, to be able to live a life that's full and rewarding. And of course, they wouldn't allow me to do that. So needless to say, he transitioned to be in heaven. And I don't feel like Gabe's lost. I want to make that very clear. I don't think he's lost anywhere. I think that he just lives in a different address than we do. And because he never did overnights with friends and people like that, guess what? It's the best place for him to ultimately live. That's a great overnight stay, is to be able to be in heaven. So we started Gabe's Heart Foundation, Jill. And that's the way I get to keep Gabe's heart beating. We say, just keep beating. I wear this pin every day. That's the pin I wear. Gabriel Michael Jacobs. And I wear it to I want to keep Gabe's heart beating, his heart of love and his legacy of love and compassion for people. And we do what's called Doing It Gabe's Way, random acts of kindness. So any way that we can give gas, groceries, we pay for different students' meals and uniforms, you name it, we do it. Do it Gabe's way. And that's what we do, called Gabe's Heart Foundation. And you can learn more at gabesheartfoundation.org.
And people can donate there to the foundation to keep paying it forward in love, correct? They can
Absolutely. The proceeds that you donate, we do a full week in the fall and a full week in the winter of Doing It Gabe's Way, random acts of kindness. We'll bring out volunteers and pump unlimited amount, as many gas that we can put into people's cars, and they line up. We don't know who's going to come. We just do random stuff. We talk to the managers at grocery stores, and we pay for a whole bunch of people's groceries, and we give them a card that says, you've just been served with a Doing It Gabe's Way random act of kindness.
Well, Kim, two things come to mind for me is, I believe that God prepared a way for your dad to come to know him so that he could be with Gabe in heaven. So the two of them are together, celebrating life together, grandpa and grandson. And number two is, and we'll talk off the air, I don't want to take much time, is I'm a meeting and event planner, Kim. So I think that we need to plan a Gabe's Heart workshop, retreat, conference for parents who have lost loved ones. So let's talk about that, because that's what I do for a living, is plan events. So,
oh my goodness, that would be awesome.
Yes,
awesome.
Yes. So and in fact, I'm doing two events coming up, Kim, and so maybe some of the families, husbands, wives would be great. Women. I still have a few spots left, so I don't know what your calendar looks like to go to Aruba, October 26th to November 1st. and it's called A Connection Getaway, and it's for couples, men and women. And then to save the date, we have another one coming up, Kim, on February 6th to the 13th. And this is the property, the one you're looking at with this beautiful.
Oh,
this is where
beautiful.
Yeah. So anybody listening, reach out to braveheartworkshops.com, and we'll see if there's still space available for you to join us. So, Kim, I know you've got another appointment, so I'm going to do a hard end and have everyone connect with Kim at the websites, which I have all the links, and I'm going to put it on the channel so you'll be able to find her and donate to this amazing foundation and help other families who have lost loved ones too. So God bless you, Kim. You've been so vulnerable. I know I got you crying, but your heart was so beautiful. So beautiful. Thank you, Kim.
Thank you, Jill. Thank you for having me, and it's my honor. God bless you all.
Thank you. Well, what a beautiful woman Kim Jacobs is. I just loved having her authenticity, and just her heart for God and her amazing son, Gabe, and all her other children. So thank you so much for joining us. Join us for the Hope, Health, and Healing Aruba Connections Getaway for men and women, February 5th through the 11th, 2023. Are you overworked? Stressed out? Feeling exhausted? Is it time to spoil yourself? Breathe in life and relax at private villas in Aruba for 6 nights and 7 days. Renew your mind and body. Discover greater self-awareness. Join in connection, wellness, stillness, movement, enhance inner peace. Experience amazing beaches. Enjoy snorkeling, area attractions, shopping till you drop. Dine at fabulous beachfront restaurants. Imagine releasing anxiety, reconnect with yourself, restore your soul, bring your friends. Enjoy fresh and savory cooked meals, lasting memories. Join us now. Register today. Book your flight and get away to Aruba, February 5th through the 11th, 2023. Register by going to braveheartworkshops.com. Pack now and see you on the island of Aruba.